want to welcome you all. Thank you for joining us. Our goal here tonight is to talk to a couple of small businesses here in Wisconsin, learn about their businesses, learn about how the COVID pandemic has affected them, and what we can do to support them during this time. But first, Joe, what you drinking?
Hey, Greg, I'm drinking a brandy old fashioned. The best
that is a solid choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can go wrong with that, as I think everybody here knows with us. I'm doing the same thing. I was thinking a little bit ago that we need to do one of these in the morning so we can have a couple bloodies.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yep.
Maybe we can do that tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right,
so go ahead.
Who do we have here today?
So tonight we're going to be joined by Joe with Cannery Wine and Spirits in Sun Prairie. They've got a store as well as a wine bar tasting room in downtown Sun Prairie. And we have Tony with Luthier's workshop and guitar repair in Green Bay.
Cool. I'm looking forward to chatting with them. First, we're going to go into our question segment from our viewers across the state, and we have two that we picked through. So one of them is, dear Greg and Joe, this is from John at Marinette. I see that you're starting like weekly themes with your jump arounds. Can you explain maybe what this week's theme is?
Yeah, that'd be so. This week, what we're going to do, we thought it'd be a great idea to show our appreciation for frontline workers, for medical workers, people who are essential workers. And I am not going to go through the list because I will forget. But we're talking about people who work in the medical industry. We're talking about grocery workers, retail workers, people who are still working now. We'd love to see everybody make a sign. If you got a specific person you want to thank or recognize for doing the work they're doing. If you've got just a group of people you want to thank, make a sign, jump with it, video yourself with it, post it on the Facebook group, Jump Around Wisconsin, or
Jump around with your signs.
You might need a bigger sign than that, bigger than a Post-it note.
Sure.
There you go. Post it on the Facebook page or send it to jumpwisconsin@gmail.com. We'd love to see what you guys are doing, who you guys are honoring.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad we're doing that. It's kind of fun picking up new themes for the week now, and we have a couple ideas coming up for the next few jumps before the stay-at-home order is lifted, and those will be coming out again in the next few weeks.
Yep, definitely pay attention to those because we got some really fun stuff coming up.
Sure. So here's a question from Tim from Oconomowoc. It says, what is your favorite Badger game experience or game that you have been to?
Good.
Me personally, that's a great question. My first, I'm going to back this up. It's twofold. My first ever experience at Camp Randall was the Michigan-Wisconsin outdoor hockey game, which was awesome. My best experience as a football game had to be Melvin Gordon running for 408 yards back in November of 2014 when it was snowing outside. It was my first jump around experience. That was an awesome game. That set the bar high for me at Camp Randall.
Joe, you're killing me because actually those are my two as well. So the funny story about the Michigan and Wisconsin hockey game, I'm a huge hockey fan, Joe. You know that.
Yep.
The funny thing is that we both went to that game before we knew each other. We had no idea. Yeah. I had no idea. We didn't know each other at that time. So it was interesting. I loved that game. I think it was a 3-2 game. It was cold, but it was a great hockey game. A lot of fun. The other one, the Melvin Gordon game, I actually didn't go into the game. We walked around and tailgated before the game, and it was a blast tailgating. It was Nebraska's first Big Ten game. I had some friends who were in town, and they had friends with them who were Nebraska fans. So they all came back to our house after tailgating. We watched the game there, and the Nebraska fans didn't leave happy.
I was with all Nebraska fans and me, and they were rubbing it in that first quarter when they were up 17-3, and then that's when Gordon just turned down the wheels. And holy crap! And then in the second half when it started snowing,
God,
that was just a good experience.
Yep.
And
One other good one, Joe, was actually you and I shared it, and it was a terrible game. I think it was 2 years ago, the BYU game. But the thing I remember about that game was the BYU players doing the jump around.
Yeah, that was pretty.
That was cool. So, but not a great game, but we still had fun.
That was the following year when Wisconsin went out to BYU and they drank all the beer out of the bars, wasn't it?
Yes, the bars ran out of alcohol in Utah. Good stuff.
All right, so I'll bring it over to you, and let's get Joe from Cannery in.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead and let's jump in here. How are you doing this evening, Joe?
Well, I didn't get my 4-hour nap in today, so so if I look a little tired, that's because this little type of lifestyle that we're living with the virus is cutting into my daily naps. So
I feel you. I wish I actually I'm right there with you. So I would love to do the same thing. Yeah. So
but
Joe,
it doesn't stop my drinking though. It doesn't stop my drinking.
And that leads us to our first question. What are you drinking?
Yeah.
I got a couple things here going on. So I'm more of a beer guy. So I've got a little music maker from Fermentorium for a beer. And then from a cocktail standpoint, I'll just show you how easy it is to make a cocktail. If you're a bartender at home, you can take 5 and 10 minutes to make a drink, or you can just grab one of these ready to make drinks. This is a plain spoke mojito, so you can basically just crack it open and
sweet Jesus,
go to town.
Joe, I don't see good things for our liver in the future.
I see great things.
Good stuff.
So, Joe, can you describe your store? And I'm going to say stores. Kind of fill us in a little bit about your liquor store, the home brewing part, and then the wine and tasting place as well.
Yeah, we've got 2 locations in Sun Prairie, both on Main Street. Cannery Wine Spirits is our retail-based store, heavy in the inventory. We deal with probably 3,000 different packaged beers and maybe close to 10,000 different kegs of beer. So our range of beer is probably unmatched. Really, I mean, I've been in the beer industry for over 20 years, going on 25 years probably. So I kind of have that background of the beer thing. But we also have an extensive list of wines, rums, tequilas, brandies, whiskeys. We're trying to get the whiskey world growing as well. And then, as you alluded to, the home brew and winemaking. That's one of kind of a little thing that separates us from other people. Is you can come to our store and get your ingredients, your equipment, everything you need to make your own beer, make your own wine, and we're kind of we kind of breed new breweries. That's where breweries start out as home brewers, right? So they start out small and then they decide how they want to take it from there. So that's our store. And a couple years ago, we grew into a tasting room lounge that operates under a different liquor license for Wisconsin, and that was meant to be a tasting room to where you could at least try things and also buy retail to go, so that you come in and right now at our tasting room we've got probably 180 whiskeys, and we've got 4 tap lines, but we rotate through. We don't need 40 tap lines. We do a lot of 6 barrels, and I can keep things fresh and rotated through that kind of a strategy. And then our wine, and so you can come there and you can come in there for 5 minutes, try something, and buy it to go at retail prices, or you can stay there for 4 or 5 hours and watch TV and have some fun with your friends.
Okay.
Stay there 4 or 5 hours. That's kind of what I've done when I've been there.
Yeah.
So with the tasting, I know you started with the retail outlet, with the retail store. Was the tasting room always kind of the plan to go to develop that, or was that something that you saw there was an opportunity for and dove into that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that um, it it was always kind of in the plan, but how it was going to materialize, we didn't know because our store was located downtown, and so then we opened up our tasting room just a couple doors down. So ideally, it would have been nice to have everything right together, right in the same type of building, but that's not how it works sometimes. So worked out for the better that we moved our store into a brand new facility, a little bit more in the center of town, and the tasting room, um, not too far away. So it just kind of happened the way it happened. Um, and we'll try to get more inventory type of thing at our tasting room over the coming years, so that if somebody likes something, that we might have a backup bottle. But the big thing about our tasting room that works so well is, um, in the retail world, we get so many different, very limited products, especially whiskeys, that we might only get one bottle a year. And you'll see other retail places do lotteries or raffles or trying to figure out how someone gets one bottle of a rare whiskey. Well, we have all that just delivered to our tasting room, to where we're going to open it up and pour 25 1 ounce pours to 25 customers at a super low price compared to other places. And that way you can at least have a chance of trying it versus running around and trying to find those limited products. It's just kind of ridiculous sometimes how people spend hours and hours and never be able to get the bottle that they want, but we've got it all at our tasting room just waiting to come out to where people can try it for a small fraction of the price that you're paying going chasing after it. So
Interesting. So, do you have theme nights or specific nights that are geared towards, whiskey or wine or beer, or is it just kind of blended all together?
no, you know it's the world of anything every day. We got some people think that we're just wine, and then they come in and then they see the wall of whiskey, and we're trying to grow that. We've taken over more of the space in our building for the tasting room, to where we can double in size. And so from our 180 whiskeys right now, the goal is to get to probably 500 at some point, and then somewhere down the road, 1,000. So we will be that type of establishment. And then, I'm a rum and tequila fan, so we always want to complement everything. And you got to remember, in the world in Wisconsin, there's a lot of different breweries and distilleries popping up, and they're all making different vodkas, gins, and whiskeys. So it's really just you know just blowing up in terms of all of the different products and producers out there. And so you don't have the Kentucky bourbons alone by themselves. Now you have Wisconsin bourbons
Mhm.
and Michigan and Minnesota and Illinois. It's going to go crazy over the next 20 years.
Wow.
So, to go off of kind of what you're saying about breweries in Wisconsin and these different distilleries, what is your favorite or a favorite brewery that you have, and what is a favorite distillery that you have in Wisconsin?
In Wisconsin, I get the question all the time about what's my favorite.
Mhm.
And in my world, it's hard to really pinpoint. I can tell you who. It really boils down to who's been around the longest. When it comes to beer, you look at the birth of a lot of these craft breweries was in the mid to late 90s, and that's kind of when I started. That's kind of when I became more of the drinking age, uh, and started exploring that world of beer. And so that's when you had some of the original breweries, like Great Dane, in Madison and some other Madison breweries. New Glarus even started up kind of, back in those days too, before really anybody knew who New Glarus was and what Spotted Cow was. But then you've got places like Central Waters, up in Stevens Point area. Tyranina Brewing Company is in Lake Mills, and I lived in Lake Mills for 14 years, and so that's really where I kind of joined with those guys for a long time and worked for them and still do stuff for them. So that's where I learned a lot about the technical aspects of beer, and then the audience and the beer drinker and what they're going to like and what not like. So so any brewery that's been around for 20 years, like Lakefront or Sprecher, those are the people that are making good beers because they've been doing it for 20 years. As far as distilleries, that's been a newer thing. And so, the one that really comes to mind in our area is J. Henry, right over in Dane, Wisconsin, just because they had to age a lot of their product for 5 years before, they even sold bottle number one. So that's a little bit trickier in distillery world because it's only within the past few years that you've seen a lot of that.
Sure. J. Henry's. I did the tasting and tour at J. Henry. Great stuff, and it's a great tour. I recommend it to anybody who wants to go do that when things open back up. I think it's a great afternoon or a great couple hours to spend out there at J. Henry, doing their tasting and doing their tour. So Joe, last question for you. What can the folks of Sun Prairie or around the state do to help support you during this time? I know that your retail store, I think, is open and coming in. You can come in and purchase, but is the tasting room open? Are we able to access the tasting room? And what can we do to help support you during this time?
Yeah, we're still open. We never had to shut down, so we're fortunate. So there was no change at our retail store. We're still open 7 days a week, 9 to 9. So that really hasn't changed. But us and our staff is we're risking our lives every day, from a health standpoint. So they're all stressed out. And our tasting room, we shifted our hours. We're open 7 days a week at our tasting room from noon to 9. Our tasting room, we can stay open until 2 a.m. Normally, but when we serve, but because we're now a liquor store at our tasting room, we have to stop at 9 p.m. So we're open at both places, but the tasting room, that's the slow operation, just because it was more or less a place for events, right? You could have your birthday party, you could have your shower or whatever. So we've had a lot of events that haven't been able to happen there. So, to answer your question, whether you come to our store or wherever, people have got to go to the small stores. The smaller the store, the better, just from a standpoint of your safety, because you're going to be, do you want to go into a store that's got 100 people in it at all times throughout the day, or do you want to go to a store that has 100 people throughout, that may be total, and you're the only other person in the store? It's mathematics. Your probability of being healthier and safer is go to a small store. I don't care if it's a liquor store or any other store. Go to the small stores. That's where you need to go.
That's honestly a solid point. I knew about the supporting small businesses, but I didn't really ever kind of put it into that perspective, which is pretty neat. I'm hoping that people will kind of take that and apply that to small businesses around the state, and even go to your store over some of the big box ones. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Joe. We appreciate it. And as we mentioned,
thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's Cannery Wine and Spirits in Sun Prairie. We've got the retail store. It's on Main Street. Both locations are on Main Street in Sun Prairie. And please visit them. It's a great place to go. Quick story. I'll jump in here. My sister from Missouri came to town, and I did her a quick. We hit all the bars and locations in Sun Prairie. And I will tell you, I think that we spent the most time at the tasting room. She absolutely loved it. I enjoy going there. So especially when go visit them now. When things end, spend an afternoon there for sure. So it's a great place to spend a day.
All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Joe.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
Yeah. All right. Next.
All right. Next, we have Tony. Tony from Luthier's Guitar Repair and Workshop in Green Bay. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. I think it's pretty much evening now. Yes. Okay.
Tony, what do you do?
Nap, by the way. I did take a nap. I have to.
So, Tony, what are you drinking?
Drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon, and this is from Joel Gott. Part of the problem with the coronavirus is that I'm usually putting down like bottles of Lafitte, like 61 Lafitte's, and it's just hard times now. So I have to settle for Joel Gott, which is actually
you're one step down on the the wine level.
Hey, you're doing better than me. I got the black box box in my kitchen right now. So you're a step ahead of me.
COVID is quantity over quality sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Tony, why don't you tell us about your business? I'm actually interested in how you got into this business, what your passion was behind it. Are you in a band? But just start big, and we'll kind of work our way down into some of the questions.
Well, the business is Luthier's Workshop, which I think that I have to kind of start there because the name Luthier is actually an old French word going back about 500 years when there were lutes. Okay, if anybody out there, we probably have a few guitar players, but a lot of people don't realize that the lute 500 years ago was actually the first guitar. And over the years, there's been a lot of changes to the design and whatnot. And but the French word luth with the th is of course the luthier is somebody that makes lutes, a lute maker. We don't have a lot of lutes anymore. So what happened over the years is that that term luthier has kind of morphed into anything that has strings, really, either bowed strings or cluck strings. So a luthier can be a mandolin maker, it can be a guitar maker, it can be a ukulele maker, and so Luthier's Workshop. That's what we do. Not only make guitars here, but do a lot of repairs. For music stores from a 100-mile radius. I get people from Nashville sending guitars, from California, Nevada. So we kind of have a little bit of a niche here.
That's really cool. So what was the passion behind you going into, starting up this business? How long has the business been going? And how many instruments do you play?
I play guitar pretty poorly.
I didn't expect to hear that.
No,
No, I didn't either.
Compared to a lot of the customers that we have, there are a lot of the working stiffs, that, and I got to tell you, in Wisconsin, there's some great talent. Up in here in Green Bay, it's amazing how much talent and how much sacrifice. Talk about sacrifice. These musicians are hit hard, along with the retail and restaurant work. But there's just so much talent, and it's a great environment here. It's something that I started the brick and mortar here was about 7 years ago, but I've been doing this since about 1972. I know I look a lot younger than that.
Well, you do.
So,
But
you talk about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I started playing guitar when I was 13, and that all started because I saw Jimi Hendrix in concert back in 1970.
That'll do it.
And so, yeah, it changed my life there. But I kind of, at the same time of falling in love with music, I kind of fell in love with the guitar itself, and it became a passion. Believe it or not, there's two things I'm really passionate about, and that's besides my wife, but she'll be watching this, I think.
Nice.
It's wine and guitars.
It's a good thing.
That's a good combination. Absolutely.
It's a good, yeah. There's an interesting parallel between those because I grew up in California, San Diego, and we did a lot of wine tasting up in Northern California as well. But going into these old wineries, you know, the smell of the casks, you know, the fermentation process, it kind of hooked me, you know. And the same thing with the guitar. It's the weirdest thing, but these old guitars, they have a specific smell that just, it was like primordial. So that's where the passion started, believe it or not.
So I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious. You talk about a lot of the guitar talent and a lot of the guitar history here in Wisconsin. Obviously, we know about Les Paul being developed in Waukesha. Is Wisconsin kind of a guitar hub? Is that something that is
you know,
specific to Wisconsin?
I don't know if it would be deemed as that. You know, the hottest thing in music now, which I'm not necessarily a huge country fan, but you know, Nashville, you know, the music scene has changed so much now. It's really a kind of a hybrid type of, it's crossover, you know, from rock to country, and it's just the hottest thing right now. And anybody's actually kind of trying to get their start there. It used to be L.A., you know, years before that it would be New York, you know, and Chicago. But it's just, you know, I'm a immigrant from San Diego about 30 years ago. So I haven't always been here, but I love it. You know, it's a beautiful lifestyle here, but
Have you taken your any of your guitars or equipment or anything down to Nashville and tried to work with some of the musicians down there?
You know, just up until recently, you know, our main focus, I'd say that our bread and butter has been repair. So we do repairs like really tough stuff. You know, highly skilled repairs, like when you have an old Martin or Gibson, and the neck has to come off, you know, or it has to be restored, you know. And a lot of these guitars have a lot of value. So, you know, we get people coming from a long distance, you know, to have this stuff done. But so, you know, primarily, you know, the repairs have been our bread and butter. But just in the past couple of years, we make guitars on the side. And just a couple of years ago, I was redesigning a guitar to do something real simple, you know, to find a better path to put electronics in a guitar. And I discovered something that has never been done before, and I filed a patent, and I just received that about 6 weeks ago.
So I heard a little bit of backstory about this this interview, and I'd like to know a tiny bit more, if you wouldn't mind sharing. Like, what does the guitar do? How does it sound different? Just how does that work?
Well, I don't know if there's too much glare on this or not, but this is a new body design, and what this does is it's pretty complicated in a way, but I literally stumbled on the science behind this, or at least you can tell in the back here it's got a carbon fiber plate, and then there's an aluminum plate on the back here as well. Now this is what's called a semi-hollow body, so it doesn't look like it from the front because there's no holes on it. Okay, like Usually on a guitar, you'll have some kind of an F hole. It's really a hole is what it is, so that when you're playing the guitar, and especially when it's amplified, that top will move just like an acoustic, but then the air's got to go somewhere. And so partially what I did is I moved everything to the back end. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yep.
That's that's an air vent. And so what that does is it helps to kind of inhibit feedback. So, you know, with electric guitars, when you really crank it, they start to feedback as if, you know, you're stepping up to a microphone, you get that squelching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's certain feedback that you want in an electric guitar. There's a lot of it that you don't. So this harnesses the stuff that you want. And actually how you do that is actually by cranking this on the back. As you turn this in, it's called the tensioning bolt. That actually will bend that carbon fiber plate in, and it draws back on the top. So in other words, you know, if you're on stage playing guitar and you get that feedback, the first thing you want to do is kind of hold the guitar and stop it from feedback, you know, from the feedback loop it's called. But by turning this, it actually dials in, you know, the amount of feedback that you're going to experience. It's never been done before. And I wish I could say that I was smart enough to think of it. I stumbled on it.
That's amazing. That's just to think about how long that, you know, for the electric guitar, I couldn't tell you that when they were introduced. I know that it was, you know, a while ago, but that hasn't been produced before, and the difference that you're making now in producing something of that style is really amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like most,
I'm going to interrupt and drink to that. Okay.
yeah, there you go.
Absolutely, drink to that. Sure, cheers.
But like most great inventions, they're never really sought out. They're stumbled upon by trying to do something else. But that's definitely a great thing. And you know, I should say, you know, I want to say I wish you the best in getting that product out there, but I think it's going to do itself. You know, it's going to do it on its own. But great job, sir.
Well, thank you very much. You know, it's the process of getting a patent is a long process, and I guess I should also say that having the experience of repairing so many guitars, hundreds of different brands and models, I guess having that experience as I was going through the process of discovery, that, you know, having that background, I could see that what I was experiencing had really never been done before. So if I didn't have that repair background, I don't think that it would have actually come to fruition. And
Sure. You're like a guitar engineer.
yeah, I suppose I've been called a lot worse.
Well, it seems to be one of the many hats that you wear.
And speaking of hats, you see that is this still really bright here? I was concerned because that's all from the forehead. You know, that's
I'd throw you my hat, but I would just.
Oh yeah. Now you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. So, so what can people do to help out a business like yours and to help out your business during these trying times with COVID-19?
Well, you know, getting back to the store and kind of away from the guitars, I started a new business for the guitar, the patent, and that's called Jasper Guitar Company, named after my son who lives in Sweden. But that's a new business, and we should be gaining some ground with that here in the next couple of months. But the Luthier's workshop is, you know, like any retail business, you know, we've been kind of struggling with the restrictions. We can still do curbside, almost like a restaurant. You know, we can meet somebody in the parking lot and we can do the exchange and whatnot. But one unique thing that we do, just so that, you know, we can feel safe here, is that we put guitars and instruments in a queue. It's a quarantined queue for 3 days. And so if there's anything that's on there, then it can die. And then we can work on the instrument. So that's a little safety thing, but just letting people know that we're still doing business, and I can't wait to get back to that 61 Lafitte. I mean, it's
Nice.
it's killing.
Yeah. Well, well, we know this is all going to be short term, and I'm going to use finger quotes on that one, as we, figure out what's happening, around the world and around the country. But, I think with, having this interview, I believe that there's going to be some people that's going to spark an interest. And I would like to go. I don't play the guitar. I know like 3 chords, and most of that comes from Santa Monica, from what's that early '90s rock band. Anyway, I would love to play the guitar just to see how it sounds, and to have you teach me a little bit. That would be a lot of fun.
Well, it's kind of a fun place. It's a boutique store that we have here. If I could do a pan here, you'd see that we have Taylor guitars, we have vintage guitars, we have all sorts of interesting stuff. So it is kind of a destination, and people come from miles around. But if we're running out of time, I just wanted to mention one thing.
Sure.
So that in the past couple of weeks, I had kind of a brainstorm to do a song, a tribute song for the frontline workers, the EMTs, the nurses, the doctors and such. In our family, we have a lot of nurses and EMTs and cops and everybody that's in our circle of friends. And I kind of revived a song that I used to play back in the San Diego days when I had a lot of hair. And anyways, I took this song. It's kind of a catchy tune, and rewrote it to be more of a tribute. It's called "Angels of the World." And so
let's hear it. That sounds
invite
great.
back in a couple of weeks or so we can put some video to it and whatnot. But it's kind of got a head of steam right now, and there's a lot of great musicians involved. And so stay tuned.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah, and I know that Greg and I would be able to put it up on the page and up on our website. And we've over the last month have got a few connections that maybe we can push that out, be able to help that out, because one thing that we've realized in all of this is music is the one thing that is kind of binding us together and giving us a little positive spirit, which is why we're here talking to everybody. So I think that's a great thing, Tony.
I think a common thread is old fashions too, maybe, or
just in general, but old fashions help.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
All right. Sure thing. All right. Well, thank you, Tony. I appreciate it, and we look forward to hearing the tune here coming up soon. I want to thank Tony and Joe both for joining us tonight. If there's a small business that anybody else wants to have us highlight in our next episode, please reach out to us at jumpwisconsin@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I always enjoy these times. Enjoy this time with the small business of Wisconsin, and on Wisconsin. And have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you, and everybody out there that's listening. Tune in next time. We'll have some more good small businesses for us.
Thanks for having us on. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.